would like to add a note to S0313, which is entitled I See. And that concerns the failure of collective action, principle or understanding. Oh, I'm getting old. I can't remember who the guy was whose research really did bring this to the fore of people's attention in the economic world. Well, those who wanted to see, of course. And that was that, look, I'm very happy to give to the poor if I know other people are. I don't mind being taxed to some extent, whatever I take to be reasonable, but if I know that everyone else who's well off is pulling their weight as well, because then I actually do achieve, well, we achieve together, what I value, which is to truly help the poor at not too much cost to ourselves. But there's a great failure in me doing this, because when you ask me, for instance, to contribute to protecting the whale, well, yeah, I do like to protect the whale, and I would like to give, but is anyone else going to give anything like enough in total, collectively, for us to actually achieve this goal? Or will my money just be frittered away on the attempt, and the whales not be protected, even though it's cost me? So I actually need a consensus before I'm free in my spirit, so to speak, to give. Otherwise I feel it may just be giving to no point and wasted and not achieve the goal that I value. So there's a failure. It's called the tragedy of the commons. On the common land, if we're allowed to put as much cattle as we want, then we all put too many cattle on the common land, and it turns into a wasteland, and it can support no cattle at all. So there has to be regulation. Each peasant's allowed to have one cow and a couple of ducks. I don't know, but it's restricted. Or one sheep. That's right. It's restricted, and if we restrict it to that which is optimal for the size of the commons and its productivity, that it's sustainable through time, then that's a good imposition, and the poor are helped in this way. Oh, lovely. Right, but if not, and it's just going to turn into a place that's wasted, well, that's a shame. It'd be better if it was in private hands and at least being productive to someone. And then we could hope that they're charitable enough or taxable enough to spread the benefit a bit. But do you see, I realized early on in economics, I'm not against taxation. I mean, if we don't tax, we can't defend ourselves. You need a war machine and so on. I mean, you might think as a pacifist you don't need to. The more you're able to wage war, the more you become an enemy of someone else that can wage war. I don't know. But on the other hand, if you don't, it does seem that the reality is you're crushed by those who are willing to wage war. And you might not want to live their way, or at least be persuaded that you don't want to live their way. I would have thought any of the tyrants of old didn't make any difference which one was running the country from your peasant point of view. You were still a peasant, still exploited. I mean, there was no real reason within yourself why you should go to war, only that the king's going to shoot you if you don't. Which was why, of course, the officer, in the army carries a pistol at the front, First World War, say. Anyone that doesn't go over the top of when I command, I will shoot. So you better obey commands of the officer. Because if you really get a rebellion among the troops, they turn and they shoot the officer and walk home, which is what happened in the communist revolution on the Eastern Front, if you like, of Germany, the Russians just walked home because the pressure of being there had vanished. You know, the Tsar was, I don't know, executed in the end, wasn't he? And his family. And the rest of Europe panicked, because what would happen if your population did the same thing? In fact, the reason that the King of England did not give political asylum to the Tsar and his family was that there was a great worry at home in England that the population would rebel as well. It was unrest, to say the least. And therefore he didn't risk rescuing his relatives, the Tsar and family. I'm not sure as he ever personally got over that. He was in a dilemma, wasn't he? Nothing like the dilemma the Tsar and his family were in, of course. Yeah. Well, we don't know all the facts of the matter, do we? And that's just the historicity that we're presented with, but it's instructive even so. Thank you, Dan.